Evening, folks. This is Barry Chamish. I hope I have a good show. We've got Shlomo Walfish on first. He's calling from Israel. And look, I relate to his point of view, all right? I'm just going to say that. Now, he sent me a bunch of articles for me to read before this interview. First of all, Shlomo, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, a little softly, but yes.
All right. Let's try
All
this.
right, let's go through them. Now, the first one was kind of relevant. You know, I take my 31 years in Israel and the experiences, and I kind of coalesce everything into a story. And Michael Oren and I were drafted on the same day, and we became friends in the Army for the first 2 days of our service. So I know something about Michael Oren. He stayed friends afterwards. All right. First of all, he wrote a book, but it's called Allah, My Journey Across the American-Israeli Divide. First of all, he is a member of the Knesset today for Kulanu. What is Kulanu?
That's Kachlon's party. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's a little soft, but I'll do.
I'll try another microphone over here. Any better now?
Sure. It's great. All right, what's Kulanu?
Kulanu is Kachlon's party. He used to be in the Likud, and he's credited with breaking up the monopoly of the cell phone industry. Although it's not entirely his credit because there are other people, members of Likud, that were working together with him. I forgot the fellow's name. Another Knesset member
in a broader picture, forget Kachlon right now.
Right. So now he promised.
You voted for Oren and Kulanu. What do you get?
He has 10 seats. He's got a reasonable amount of seats for the Israeli Knesset. That's like a power broker. 10 seats is they call him the kingmaker because if he went with a party, with a candidate, he would, make the prime minister. So that's what he's done effectively. He's in the government right now. He's promising to do to other industries in Israel what he did to the telephone industry, which is to break up the cartels and the monopolies and bring prices down.
That's not Oren.
That's Kachlon. Now, Oren is one of his guys. He's in a similar way to Yair Lapid's Yesh Atid party, where he said, I'm going to pick a bunch of professionals in different industries and put together a great dream team. So Kachlon is basically playing the same card. I'll bring together great guys like Michael Oren, who has experience in America. That's kind of how he's selling it. That's how he sold it.
All right. Look, this book is what you sent me, and I studied this interview. No, it's an article by Jack Engelhardt. And first of all right, what this book is claiming is that, here is a quote from the Wall Street Journal with Oren last week. From the moment he entered office, Mr. Obama promoted an agenda of championing the Palestinian cause and achieving a nuclear accord with Iran. Such policies would have put him at odds with any Israeli leader. All right, that's for some reason a big deal. Why is that a big deal?
I don't know. I just, I don't know him personally. I never met him. I just have a problem with anybody who's inconsistent. So, for example, when Obama was running for president, from what I understand, unless I'm wrong on this, Michael Oren was supporting him. And he was saying that we need to stand by the American president and telling everybody why they should support someone who wants to divide Jerusalem and stop building in our ancient homeland over here in Israel and all these other things. So, you can't on one hand have one point of view and all of a sudden when you're, not in that position anymore, all of a sudden switch to the other side.
So you're saying that he stabbed Obama in the back.
That's one way to look at it. Another way to look at it, there's different ways to look at it. Another way to look at it, some of my friends say, again, I don't know him personally, but some of my friends say, well, he's pandering to the right because the right wing, as if, there's a right wing crowd in Israel. They want leaders who stand tough against, enemies of Israel, or people who are perceived as enemies of Israel.
Book just for that. You really,
anything
really
is possible. You know about people, laying out the cards to set themselves up.
He's a sly person. Just understand you're dealing with a really slick. Let's just say he wrote the book, I would hope, because he believed in his words. If that's the case, it's kind of a big deal.
Yeah,
look, he said that Obama was raised a Muslim. That's pretty big for an ex-ambassador to the United States to say.
It is. I just like to know, where the hell was he 2 years ago? Where was he 3 years ago? What was he, sipping coffee with Abe Foxman? I mean, what was he doing? Where the hell was he? Abe Foxman just left his position, and he left with 3 accusations against Israel instead of standing up for his people, the Jewish people.
He's just like slamming them. Who's Abe?
Abe Foxman from the ADL.
Abe Foxman. All right, now that's the United States. That's something else. Abe Foxman and the Anti-Defamation League, don't mix it up right now.
Right. I'm just saying, what was Michael Oren doing for the last 4 years? What was he doing? Was he sipping tea with Abe Foxman and saying Obama's great? And all of a sudden now he woke up and say, well, really, he's doesn't have Israel's best interest in mind. Do we need him to tell us this? Do we not know this on our own? He's doing everything possible to enable Iran to continue their nuclear program. This is somebody who's the best president for Israel. This is someone who's the most Jewish president. I mean, it's a joke. It's a sham. It's like the emperor has no clothes. Anyone who believes it is a total moron.
In this book, he very defiantly does not say that.
Right. No, okay. So he's coming clean now. The question is, does he really mean it? And where are the other leaders? Why are Israeli leaders continuing to support the peace process of negotiating with Al-Fatah, which is the PLO, or the Palestinian Authority? It's just, on one hand he's bashing Obama, on the other hand he continues to support a 2-state solution, which really means a 1-state solution, and that 1 state is not Israel, according to the people who advocate the solution.
Is that in the book? Does he actually say that?
I didn't read it. I didn't read his book, but I've seen videos of him supporting a 2-state solution. He says he does.
So have I. As I said, he's slick. The guy was always good at being, shall we say, likable to many. Look, I also have your doubts, okay? But neither here nor there. A book is a book, and it's out. And he's saying that Obama was raised a Muslim. A lot of things that the American right have been saying for many years, he wrote down and he published.
Okay, so welcome to the club, Michael Oren. I mean, congratulations. Now tell the world that the PLO founder, Haj Amin al-Husseini, was the predominant partner with Hitler, and he actually encouraged them to do the final solution and explain to the world that talking...
oh, gosh.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm being sensitive to my listeners. That was quite a mouthful. Who was backing Hitler? Sort this out one by one, step by step. Whatever that statement was, sort it out.
Well, the basic idea is, Michael Oren, you're telling me that he's standing up for Israel. He's saying that Obama doesn't have Israel's best interest in mind. That's very nice, and that's very good, and welcome on board, Michael Oren. But on the other hand, he supports a 2-state solution, which essentially means giving over our homeland and negotiating with Mahmoud Abbas. Mahmoud Abbas and Yasser Arafat, whose name should be wiped out. They were the top students of Haj Amin al-Husseini, who founded the Al-Fatah I believe it started in Egypt. And if you look at videos online and photos, you'll see that Haj Amin al-Husseini met with Hitler And Hitler actually wanted to send Jews. He wanted to make Europe Judenrein. He wanted to send a lot of them to Palestine. Not all of them. He was a mass murderer, and
He
he murdered
wanted
Jews
to
too.
send. Now, this is a big point. Don't rush this quickly.
Not
You
brushing it
had
quickly.
labor Zionism, you had the Jewish Agency cutting a deal with Hitler at the same time to send German Jews to Palestine.
Right, but only the kind of Jews that they wanted. Only the
That's for sure.
only
That's
as
for darn sure.
Chaim Weizmann
Nobody
said, the
wanted to come to
pioneers.
Palestine.
Right. Well, they only wanted the pioneers. The pioneers were the people. Well, Chaim Weizmann said it himself. The people who are going to give to the land and build up the land, not the Jews who are going to take or looking for something for themselves. In other words, the more communist labor thought workforce type.
We're doing well here, all right? Now, Hajj al-Husseini was backing Hitler, but at the same time, the Jewish Agency representing the Jews of Palestine was in a one-on-one deal with the Nazis called the Transfer Agreement. They're equivalent.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I'm not disagreeing with that. What I'm saying is Hajj al-Husseini had a tremendous amount of power, and he actually went to Germany to meet with Hitler. And he also went to other countries in the Middle East, because he was the Grand Mufti
Rudolf
of Jerusalem.
Kastner went to, well, it was Austria-Hungary. It doesn't matter. He ended up in an SS uniform going to Belsen and sending, let's say, saving 300 Jews and sending tens of thousands to their deaths, and apparently enjoying it.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. This is all covered in perfidy. I mean, absolutely. But all I'm saying is that the leaders of today, let's get back to today, Michael Oren, Bibi Netanyahu, and almost all of the people in their gang, certainly Shimon Peres, but he's a whole different conversation, but even the, quote, alleged right-wing guys, they all support talking to these students of Hajj al-Husseini, who was a partner with Hitler in the final solution. And al-Fatah's always promised to destroy the Jews. That's what Hajj al-Husseini wanted to do. He even went out to Saudi Arabia.
In other words, you don't trust them.
They're Muslim Nazis from day one. They helped found the final solution. It's still in the Al-Fatah PLO charter to wipe the Jews out of Israel. And Bibi Netanyahu and Michael Oren, I'm putting him in the same boat, they'll continue to want to negotiate with these people instead of saying these people are our enemies. So the fact that Michael Oren is saying that Barack Hussein Obama does not have Israel's best interest in mind, even though people get confused, they say, well...
by the way, Hussein Obama, that is his actual name?
His name is Barack Hussein Obama, yeah, that's right.
So he does have an Islamic upbringing somewhere.
Well, yeah. Well, his grandmother in Kenya says he was born in Kenya, and she points to the hospital he was born there. But most Americans don't like to believe that, But hey, listen, maybe his grandmother is senile and she's confused, and she doesn't really know where he was born.
I think the name Hussein is kind of an imprint on who you are the rest of your life.
Yeah, regardless of where you're born, I would say so. But as we say, the proof is in the pudding. Here you have Bibi Netanyahu running around the world, running to the U.S. Congress, telling everybody that Iran continues to want to make a nuclear weapon, which, by the way, it's not just a danger for Israel. It's a danger for America. Americans don't really get this. Iran having a nuke is like Hitler having a nuke, and the same way America used the nuke in World War II, while they used it in Japan, if Hitler had the nuke, he would have used it against America. And in the same way, Iran would. Iran publicly says that America...
Oh, I think Israel will be before America. All right? If a nuke is used, I think it'll be Tel Aviv and not Washington.
Yeah, well, I hear what you're saying, and I believe that is their intention. The thing that makes me sleep at night over here in Israel is I believe in the Bible, and I believe in God. And he says, "Ela berecha ve'ela basusim anachnu b'shem Hashem." They come up, right? You know the
Oh,
words
is
I'll
that
translate in
fast for
English?
my poor listeners?
That every nation tried to stand up and destroy the Jews and wipe out the Jews. You know, you can start off from Pharaoh, and you can go through, you know, all of Jewish history, you know, right down to Hitler. They all tried, and they
And
didn't.
your point being, right now, what?
My point is that yes, during the Holocaust, the Jews fought not to come back to Israel. I understand that there were labor Zionists that were fighting to keep them in Europe as well. But I'm saying, besides that part of the equation, the masses of the Jewish leaders, from the Orthodox to the Reform to the Conservative, they all fought to keep their congregants in Europe and not to go to Israel. And you can
All
read
right. A
Jabotinsky's
major
letter.
point. Can you
Did you ever?
expand, please, on
Yes,
this
what I'm
point?
The point is that I personally and my friends and a lot of people I know, I live in neighborhoods with hundreds, thousands of really fine people, Jews. I have a lot of Christian friends, many of them. They believe that Israel will be protected. Now, how is it going to be protected? Maybe it'll be some sort of Iron Dome, David Sling technology thing, and Iran will shoot a missile and we'll shoot it down. Maybe they'll try to set it off and it'll blow up in their face. Maybe there'll be an earthquake. God has ways of doing things, and if we read the Bible, there's many, many of these amazing stories that happen that people say, wow, that's a biblical event. So I believe that no matter what they try to do, we will be safe. And that doesn't mean it's not scary.
Oh,
It is scary.
gosh.
It
There
is
were,
scary, and it doesn't mean I don't think that we shouldn't have an army and we shouldn't have good leaders to do what we got to do. Absolutely, we should. But at the end of the day, if you look at, Yitro, right? He explained that there's
that's
a God.
Jethro.
Jethro.
Remember, my listeners don't know from Yitros, you have to say Jethro.
Jethro was the priest of the world. He studied every single religion and he knew all the religions. He was Moses' father-in-law. He ended up coming to Moses in the desert when he was leading the Jews out, and he said, I finally decided out of all the religions that your God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, is the true God. Now, how did he know this? He knew this because he saw that God treated the world measure for measure. So just one small example. God could have killed all the Egyptians with a plague. Why did he have to have them cross the Sea of Reeds for them to drown in the
This is
splitting of the sea?
relevant to you?
This is relevant. I'll tell you why it's relevant. Because what I'm trying to tell you is if we look at biblical history, when the Jews are in their land fighting for, let's say, in the name of God, for bringing his name into the world, and nations go against the Jewish people, they ultimately are destroyed in a what's called midah keneged midah, which means measure for measure. And therefore, if you see a country like America or Europe or any country trying to have to stop Israel from fighting, let's say, a nuclear bomb, and enabling countries like Iran, tyrannical countries, from getting the nuke, that nuke will not be used on Israel. It will be used on the countries that enable them to continue having it. That's not a threat. That's just a biblical ideology.
A threat. I see that.
I'm not threatening. I can open up biblical passages and show you that's what Jethro, who is Moses' father-in-law.
You're assuming that's relevant. And what I'm saying is this book, Michael Oren is saying that Obama was raised a Muslim and doesn't like Israel, and he's spilling the beans.
That's good. Then that's good. That's good.
I don't know, well, that's what you sent me. And now you're going to Jethro, and I'm reading your notes. Look, you have to understand, I like this Jack Engelhardt, too. His heart is, so is yours. Both your hearts are in the right place. But honest to goodness, Engelhardt remembers something. He wrote, big deal with Obama. It was Bush Sr. He was the one who got Rabin to divide Israel in Oslo. Bush Sr. Why pick on Obama without?
No, absolutely. I agree. I agree with it. First of all, it was Bill Clinton that got Arafat and Rabin to sign the Oslo Accords, and Shimon Peres. Bush Sr., though.
No, Peres wasn't involved at all. He was kept out of it. Don't dive into this stuff. This
You know,
stuff
the
I know.
Oslo Accords was signed in 1993. That was Bill Clinton. But I think you're talking about Bush Sr. He
Bush
actually,
Sr. in September of 91, before he left office, ordered Rabin to prepare Israel to negotiate with the PLO.
right, but
That
at the
was
time that was under the wraps. We know that now, but then at that time it was quiet, hush hush, right? Because when they signed the Oslo Accords, it was like, oh wow, America pretended as if they didn't know what was going on. It was all a show. Oh, look
yep,
at that.
yep,
Look at that. Rabin and Arafat, they're blood brothers now. They're cousins.
yep.
They made up. And meanwhile, as I think you pointed out in some of your writings, that Bush Sr. met with Rabin in Maine and said, "You're going to make a two-state solution," and he was telling him what the
You
CFR
have to
told him.
prepare the Israeli people for painful concessions. Yeah,
Exactly.
bring the PLO back.
There's a fellow. There's a fellow by the name of John McTernan. He's a Christian fellow, and he wrote a book called "As America Has Done to Israel," and he tracks all of the times that America pressures Israel to do things like dividing land. And that particular one that you're talking about in Maine, he shows that within 24 hours, there's hurricanes that come and like wipe out the whole coast of where Bush's house is. You can check it out. It's very,
Oh,
very interesting.
Shlomo, you are so accurate. It was in Kennebunkport, Maine, that the Oslo demand, well, that's when Bush really he was on his way out, okay? And Clinton was on his way in. He ordered Rabin to negotiate with the PLO and divide the country. You remember that. I'm very impressed.
You should pick up a copy of that book if you never read it, and so should your listeners. It's John McTernan. It's called As America Has Done to Israel. And this whole concept I'm trying to explain to you, Barry, and your listeners, is that if you believe in God, which I happen to, okay, then he does measure for measure. So that means as America is trying to divide the promised land, however you want to put it, the land he promised to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob and his descendants, within 24 hours of an action trying to divide the land, there was a natural disaster consequence that happens in that area. And there's many examples of it. And Katrina is a very fine example. Katrina
Shlomo,
came on the close of...
I should have had you on for all 2 hours. Maybe
Katrina
you can
happened right
stick
after
around for
Gush
part of the second. But the fact is, you started quoting someone I liked, Laser Brody. I knew the guy, I liked him, and he's saying to his readers, pull out of America and invest in Israel. It's the end of the Shemitah year. Believe me, I know a lot of people who believed in that philosophy and lost their shirts. But let's go back. Let's go to Condoleezza Rice. Now, she's coming to Israel for, I believe, Clinton, and she's coming demanding concessions. All right? This was way before Obama. The process was begun.
Oh, absolutely. Obama is just the current salesman of this globalist agenda. Correct. There's no question about it. But it could be that he actually, since he's Muslim, could be that he really does, on a personal level, hate Bibi Netanyahu more than, for example, Bush did with Sharon, because Bush and Sharon would laugh together. So even though I'm talking about Bush Jr., George W.
Oh,
So
we're up to our
even though
century.
George W. was following, called the Council on Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission, the Bilderberger Group, who's meeting in Europe right now, whoever's in charge of setting...
Oh, we have a break, and
Okay.
it's a shame because you're going hot. You're doing great, but we have to take 3 minutes off. When we come back, I'll plug myself and you'll tell people how to get a hold of you, and away we go. And maybe you'll stick around for part of the second hour. We'll see. Folks, we're coming back in 3 minutes. This is Barry Chamish.
years ahead of the dominant media. FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net. The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on internet or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the internet. Then, when you subscribe, we will send you the last quarterly MP3 CD of that program immediately, and continue to do so with each new quarter. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe, so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening. Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity, invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host, Melody Cedarstrom, right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit DiscountGoldandSilverTrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free, 1-800-375-4188.
Hey, folks. We're back. Condoleezza Rice was Bush Jr.'s Secretary of State. So we get both Bushes in this plot, and we'll get back to that. But first, I'm going to plug myself. All my books are at lulu.com, www.lulu.com. You'll see a search box right in my last name, Chamish, Chamish, and you'll get to all my books. Look, I hope David Sam, my webmaster, is still operating. I'm doing my best, but I have a website, barrychamish.com. All right, your turn. Plug yourself, Shlomo.
Okay, you can plug me. That's right. I don't need a plug.
You don't want people to contact you?
That's fine. If somebody wants to contact me, they can email me, Shlomo, which is spelled SHLOM, as in Max O, and at jewishisrael.org. That's jewishisrael.org. And the idea over there is that group, Jewish Israel, is trying to bring authentic, proud Jewish leadership to the state of Israel that will be a light unto the nations of the world and get out of this rut that we find ourselves in.
I'm going to let you repeat that address one more time.
Sure. That would be Shlomo, SHLOM, as in Max O, at jewishisrael.org.
All right. Now, you sent, by the way, we are archived for 1 week, if you missed that, at libertyarchives.com. All right. Now, let's go back. This is Condoleezza Rice now. And it's this Jack Engelhardt he's so confused, and the Jewish people are so confused. Look, first you pulled out of Gush Katif, and he is really ticked about that. He says the evil began, the 1993 Oslo Accords onwards to Sharon and his 2005 decree to wipe Israel off the map of Gaza. Gush Katif was a pogrom. Oh, poor Jack. You don't know what's behind all this. All right, let's start. After Sharon
Shamir,
pulled out of Gush Katif, Olmert took over.
If you go back,
Condoleezza Rice worked Olmert. All right, take off from there.
Well, I'm saying is you're missing one part back in history, which is Shamir met in Madrid with, I think at the time it was Bush Sr., and he had the Madrid conference, also talking about a land for peace type of deal, and this was the forerunner to the Oslo Accords. You know about that, right?
Well
the Madrid.
Done.
Right.
It slipped my mind, but well done.
That's where it started, and they try to elbow their way into the consciousness of the Israeli leaders. Now Shamir was actually a pretty tough leader, and he didn't give away any land. He didn't, as opposed to, for example, Menachem Begin, who was also a very strong right-wing leader, but he just gave into the pressure of Jimmy Carter and gave away the entire Sinai with all the oil to Sadat. In
other words, it doesn't matter who you vote for in Israel, you're going to get deeply screwed. Come on,
absolutely.
Say
it. Yes, when you vote in Israel, basically every 4 years you get to vote for a dictator, and it's really not that different in America either. Let's not kid ourselves. When you vote in Israel for the left, you get the left. When you vote for the right, you get double left. That's the joke. And the group that I work with, Manhigut Yehudit, and that's Moshe Feiglin, who was the deputy speaker in the Knesset. He
isn't now.
He was. If you go to his website, you can see his plan.
He isn't even in the Knesset now.
He's not in the Knesset right now. He is taking a little bit of a break after 10 years, 15 years. After 10, 15 years of fighting on and trying to get into.
Shlomo, don't do this rationalizing. He was pressured.
The point is, he's actually going to.
Career was ended.
He's founding his own party. It's called Zehut, which means identity, and he actually already has a few thousand people signed up to the party, and he's going to roll it out in the next coming months.
We can't wait. All right, let's go back to reality now. Again, Michael Oren is sounding like he gives a damn suddenly. This is an issue. Now, Engelhardt, he's just furious. Olmert gave away everything to Condoleezza Rice, and it didn't start with the latest Obama, and he's really ticked off that everyone is saying, why did Michael Oren understand this when it was happening for the last 25 years? That's his point.
Okay. You mean, why didn't he speak up earlier? Well, why did he wake up today?
Okay. Putting it in another way, yes.
I think that's a very fair question, and it shows either one of two scenarios. Either Michael Oren is a fool, and he really thinks that people who are enemies of Israel and looking to do us in or divide the land, he thinks that really they are friends when in fact they really are enemies. So he's a fool. That's one. Or he's part of them. So I think it's.
I go with two.
You go with
two. He is
very,
very. I said this at the beginning. He's very slick.
Okay.
He doesn't do anything on his own. He gets advisors to tell him what to do. I suspect there's a motive here somewhere.
Okay, so that's what some of my friends said. Some of my friends said he's looking to be, the call of the right-wing strong voice in Israel, maybe to take over, Avigdor Lieberman's position of being a tough guy, foreign minister type of guy. And maybe he's looking for that type of thing, and he's saying, "Oh, yeah, I'm against Obama. He really is a Muslim." So he's just playing politics. He could have said this 4 years ago, but he didn't. And I'm supposed to respect him now that he woke up.
We're getting to the core of the issue now. Look, I suspect the motivation to begin with. Now, what you're getting, well, that's pretty good. But what's behind it, you may not like so much.
Yeah. Listen, there's a lot of shades of gray. Even when somebody does something for their own motive, if they're doing something good, then it's good. Gotta tell you.
I'm not going to go through my little experience in Israel, but when you enter that political system, nothing is necessarily good anymore.
Well, look, every country has its ups and downs. Look what's going on in the United States of America.
No. Come on. How many ups and downs does Canada or Holland have? Nobody goes through what Israel goes through with corruption. Nobody.
Oh, there's other corrupt countries. Come on, Barry. Maybe Canada. Maybe Canada is an example.
A democracy.
Maybe Canada is an example of a clean country. But look, Canada has tons of Muslims moving in there. Look at Europe. Look at France and England. I mean, you can see on YouTube these videos. It's unbelievable. Maybe you can address this issue. I see talkbacks anytime you're talking about these type of global agendas, such as the Bilderberg Group meeting in Europe, which people don't even know what that's about. You see the talkbacks, well, why don't you say that it's the Zionists and the Jews? And like they're always blaming the Jews. And I try as much as I can to say, listen, I'm against global takeover of the world, and I'm a Zionist that loves Israel. I love Israel.
We're on their side. We've got a very tough argument here that labor Zionism was terrible for the Jews, and we acknowledge that. The right were not bloodthirsty, and your whole history has been turned upside down. It's a very, very tough argument, and I feel very alone in this.
Well, I think at the end of the day, it comes down to the real fault is the Israeli leaders, and I'll tell you why. Because if somebody comes into your house and he tries to steal your house, and then some Martian is looking at this thief coming to your house, and he sees you say, you know what? I'll tell you what. Don't take the whole house. You can just have the living room and the dining room. Let me keep the bedroom and the den. So who is this Martian going to believe is the owner of the house? That's what you say to this guy, and this guy says, no, this entire house is my house. Get out of here, Barry Chamish.
A bit tricky to follow.
Right. No. So what happens is any outside view that looks at the situation, and one person is saying the entire house is mine, in this case, the robber, the thief, and then the person who actually lives in the house, which is you, let's say, for example, your house, and you say, well, I'll give you half of the house. The foreigner is going to say, or the Martian will say, well, I think it's the guy who's going for the whole house. This is what happens with the Israeli leaders. They say, well, we have a right to be in Israel because there was a Holocaust. Every politician that comes to Israel, they take them to Yad Vashem. See, Hitler tried to kill us. We deserve to have our own country. But there are Arabs here, so we're going to give them their own state. We're going to give them Jerusalem. We're going to give them the Temple Mount, the holiest place to the Jewish people. Barry, I go on the Temple Mount a few times a year. I am discriminated against by my own government. They do not let me pray there. They let Muslims and Hamas wave flags.
I don't think that's necessarily the biggest issue of this discussion.
It has a huge part of it because if the Israeli
I could dive into what happened after the 6-Day War and why the Waqf got the Temple Mount and all that. There are explanations, by by just so you know.
Moshe Dayan was a thief. And he was an architect. He was an archaeological thief, and he figured he'll make a deal with the Muslims that if he gives them the key, they'll let him continue digging, and then he can sell priceless artifacts from the first and second temples for unlimited amount of monies. And of course, the Arabs did what they always do: is they stabbed them in the back and they let him dig.
It was because he was stealing things from digs.
Absolutely.
Cupolas and stuff that they gave up the Temple Mount. Nothing to do with the liberty.
They found stashes. They found stashes of stuff, of archaeological stuff, in Moshe Dayan's backyard. The guy was a thief. I'm not saying he didn't do anything good for Israel.
I know he was. But he was also prepared to sink an American ship, and he sent the Israeli Navy and Air Force to sink the Liberty. It gets messier than just theft. It gets
the anti-Semites like to point to Israel as if it was their fault, ignoring the fact that the Lyndon Johnson is the one who ordered it and made the backroom and made the deal and paid off Israel to do it.
But because of that, boy, was Moshe Dayan up for blackmail. I mean, this guy was screwed every which way he looked. And that's what people... That's the message I'm going to try to get through in the next hour. The fact that Moshe Dayan was a crook, as you said, but this guy sold out his country, sold out the Temple Mount, sold out everything because he was super vulnerable.
All of them are. Oh, you don't think Olmert is selling in jail near where I live. All of these guys sell out. They're all a bunch of criminals. This is why
Olmert was Condoleezza Rice's little puppet.
Yeah, this is why we need proud Jewish leaders who believe that this land is ours. That's the name of the group I work with. Zohar Tzeno means this is our land. And that's it. If we don't believe it's our land and we keep on speaking, the Arabs can take the Temple Mount and Hebron, which is where Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob are buried, then why the hell should the world actually believe us that it's our land when they say, your own leaders say that the most holy places are not?
Because your leader walked out of the Knesset not telling people there was pressure, but he walked out of the party and left you abandoned.
Which leader are you referring to?
I'm talking about Feiglin. He was a Knesset speaker, and then one day before the election decided he didn't like that anymore. You think anyone believed that?
Let me explain to you something about Moshe Feiglin, okay? Because what you read in the media, you can't always trust. There's spin on it. You have to understand, Manhigutu did Moshe Feiglin working within the Likud system, which was sort of, I'll give you the example in America, Ron Paul working within the Republican system. He said, I don't want to start my own independent party because either a Republican leader or a Democratic leader are going to become the president.
You're doing this justifying, and it's not working.
I'll ask you.
I swear to you, it's not working.
Moshe, listen to me.
He walked out. Everyone knew there was pressure. Everyone knew he was squeezed. And he walked out and left his Knesset seat, and today has nothing.
One second. There was a political coup within the Likud get rid of Feiglin. And they made backroom deals so that the blocks of voters should not support him on the Knesset slate. You don't vote for the Knesset member, you vote for a party. So therefore, he was low down on the list, like number 35, and he made a very interesting observation. 80% of the time that he was in the Likud, he was fighting internal, stupid baby politics with other leaders like Bibi Netanyahu. And he only spent 20% of the time talking to people.
So
he did a lot of
TV interviews. It would be better if I was out of politics entirely.
No, he said, it's enough trying to do this through the major party Likud. We grew up through the Likud, and now we're going to start our own party, similar to the way Yair Lapid did. And Yair Lapid got 19 seats. We're going to start our own party. The party is called Zehut. He said, I need to take a break. I can't run the party in a month.
People,
not enough time.
You hear what I've got to fight all the time. He's gone. He has no power anymore. He had power. He was a House Speaker. He could negotiate deals, and he walked out of power.
Barry, I got news for you. Kachlon was gone, too. Kachlon left the Likud.
Who cares about Kachlon?
Well, now he's back, and he's got 10 seats. People take breaks from politics. Moshe Feiglin has been in politics for over 15 years, trying to change this system and fighting within the internal Likud system, which is very corrupt, as we said, is very corrupt. And he said, enough, I need to take a break. I'm going to come back, and I'm not fighting their game. I'm going to start my own party. And guess what? I'll tell you something very interesting. He has been speaking in Tel Aviv amongst, typical secular Israelis, talking to them about liberty, the same things that Thomas Jefferson spoke about. Cherut. He says Yahadut equals Cherut. That means Judaism, real Judaism, not the Zionism from the labor Zionism that you
He's
write about.
independence. And
Real
you're
Judaism
saying that
equals
this is having
liberty.
liberty, Hr1. It doesn't matter. What he had before was in the power structure. He was the House Speaker. One day he woke up and said, I don't want to be that anymore, and walked out and left you isolated. You have no power. Now he has to go on and do street rallies.
You doesn't have to do. You do rallies when you're creating a new party, and everybody does. You don't think Yair Lapid made rallies? Everybody does. Yair Lapid got 19 seats. Now Kachlon got 10 seats. That's what happens when you start a party. You do rallies. Rav Kahana, when he did the Kach party, he did street rallies. He had 1 seat, but he was projected to get somewhere like close to 20. He was going to become the third largest party, 25 seats. So people do rallies. That's not a bad thing. It's called work.
If I'm not mistaken, Kahana met a very untimely end.
That's true. They couldn't deal with him because if he would have been allowed to continue, he would have been the prime minister of Israel. He would have taken back. He would have taken back a couple amounts, and he would have stopped. He would have stopped. He would have stopped Bush Senior before he even started. You know what I mean? So these guys.
How would he have stopped an American? How would he have done
that?
He
would have never agreed to the Oslo Accords. He never would have agreed to it. If he would have been the prime minister, he would have said, "Are you kidding me?"
He wasn't going to be prime minister, but he could have had a 4 or 5 seat influence.
Could have had a 20-seat influence. He was projected to get a lot of seats. He was projected to get somewhere between, I think, 16 and 20 seats.
I remember that, I remember that poll and taking note of it. And he was killed not long after.
Because he was going to change the power structure. He was going to become the kingmaker in Israel. And without him, they wouldn't have been a government.
I recall this, and I should have recalled it better. But polls before the election showed Kahana getting 16 to 20. I recall that.
Yeah,
all right.
He would have been the kingmaker of the system, and
whoever he would have been.
And whoever was in Israel or in America or in the Council on Foreign Relations, they didn't want that to happen because they realized he's a powerhouse and they can't stop him. So they couldn't stop him politically in the ballot box. So they chose a messenger to stop him other ways.
He was the last one out of the Sinai. He wouldn't go. He actually stood there in Yamit and faced the army. And you know what?
Moshe Feiglin did the same thing in Gush Katif. And I could play you the speech of what he said to the soldiers, that if you're going to kick these Jews out of their houses, I'm telling you right now, there's going to come a day that the only way you're going to get forgiveness from them is by rebuilding it yourself. What are you going to tell your children? You kick the Jew out of his house in a pogrom?
Shlomo, I fought for the residents of Gush Katif to wake up. I spoke to them. I was there every week. It was heartbreaking. Living in that country is heartbreaking.
It's very sad.
Right, I know.
They were very dependent on the government, and very few of them were really willing to stand up. They were hugging the soldiers and saying, well, if this is what it takes, if this is what has to happen, this is what has to happen.
They were holding their hands all the way to the Temple Mount in a long line. They were being guided away from real protest and
there's a video.
Their time.
Here's a video called Miraglim, which means the spies, which was a 2 weeks Bible portion. And basically, you see people like Rabbi Shlomo Aviner and Zabel and all these people that are, quote, the right-wing leaders leading the people out of Gush Katif. Basically, backstabbers, capos, So,
well, you got this Ben Ari, and nobody has been to his house to burn it down for the treachery. I mean, you don't have normal reaction to a genuine war where you've already lost 90% of the land. Come on, between the Sinai, northern Samaria, all gone, all the settlements, you've got about 10% of what Israel once was. That's it, nothing more.
Well, believe it or not, I've been to the northern Samaria. I've been all over the Shomron Samaria. And although there definitely are Arabs living there, there are Jews and Jewish settlements dispersed.
They were removed.
Not in the Shomron. No, not in the
along with
Shomron.
Gush Katif, all of... No,
only very small, very, very, very small ones were removed in the Shomron. The Shomron, yes, you are correct that some of them are being attacked, but most of them by far are still
so
there.
You're saying the country is intact like it once was?
No, we have a leadership that's bowing down to the globalist agenda. We're not in great shape. We're in great shape in the fact that when you compare us to 50 years ago, we're in amazing shape. We have a great army. We have nukes. We have a lot of power. We just don't have the ideal leadership that knows what the hell to do with it all. So we got to change that. So we got a lot of good stuff. We got some problems, and we're going to fix it all up. And guess what? There's going to be more and more problems in America. And we were talking about financial meltdowns. I hear your sponsors telling people to buy gold. I think that they're onto something right over there, because all of the world's currencies are fiat currencies. If people were smart, especially your radio listeners, they'd try to cash in their dollars for something that's actually worth something. So
we'll stay on at the beginning of the next hour. I have Pat Murphy. I wrote something important 10 days ago, and he would sort of be a sounding board. But can you hang around for at least the first part of the next show?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, fantastic. Look, what you're saying, oh gosh, I'm looking at that. You're all paranoid about nuclear deals with Russia and Saudi Arabia. I mean, this is deep paranoia.
No, I'm not paranoid at all. I'll tell you the most ironic thing.
I know. You sent me...
The people who used to be our enemies, the people who we grew up that were our enemies, which was Russia and Egypt, now these countries are better friends of ours and Germany are better friends of ours than the United States of America. You got this guy Al-Sisi in Egypt, and he is more Zionistic in a certain ways than some of our own leaders. It's unbelievable. This guy fights Hamas and the Muslim Brotherhood. He wants to indict Obama. Al-Sisi wants to indict Obama, bring him into Egypt, and put him on trial. For war crimes, for supporting the Muslim Brotherhood and Morsi. Morsi murdered tons and tons of Egyptian, politicians.
He stated that I would have him brought to Egypt to stand trial?
Yes, Al-Sisi goes into Gaza and he wipes out the entire border over there because...
but does he say, I want to bring Obama to Egypt to stand trial?
Yes, let me tell you something. When John McCain came to Egypt and he threatened Al-Sisi in Aramaic, Al means not. Al-Sisi
Shlomo,
is not a...
we have to take a break. We have no choice. Now, this conversation is really good, so you're staying on the line. Pat will be understanding, and we have to take a 7-minute break.
Sure, we'll get into Egypt and Al-Sisi soon, sure.
Go get yourself something to eat, but be back in 5 minutes. And folks, this is Barry Chamish, Hour 2 coming up in 7 minutes. And Shlomo, you do most of the talking this time. My tongue is swollen. Gotcha. See you in 7, folks.
Gold and silver is tremendously undervalued. Global demand vastly exceeds mine supply by more than 60% annually. There is little in the financial world more certain than a coming explosion in the prices of gold and silver. The U.S. dollar continues to lose value and respect as the world's reserve currency. Our nation faces challenges on many fronts, and a day doesn't pass without another economist bringing forth warnings of impending economic calamity. There has never been a better time than right now to acquire physical gold and silver. Discount Gold and Silver Trading was founded on the principles of truth and honesty. We believe in providing a quality product, quality service, and most importantly, competitive pricing.